to have you. Welcome to the program. Thanks. It is the Joe Pags Show. Great radio stations across the land. Newsmax TV, JoePags.com, iHeartRadio 2 on a Tuesday. The bottom line for me, when it comes to attacking Layla Ali for saying all lives matter, or when it comes to attacking Donald Trump for trying to prevent suicides of 22 service members every day, these attacks should be frivolous. But in this day and age, they're really not. And the reason why they're not is because the left media controls the message, and what is not reality turns out to be reality. All right, want to talk to a guy that I enjoy having on every single time. Brand new book out called Guilty as Sin. It is best-selling author Ed Klein. Ed, how are you?
I'm great, Joe. Thank you so much for having me on your wonderful show.
It's always a pleasure to have you back, my friend. Brand new book, Guilty as Sin, and we're talking about Hillary Clinton. And this isn't the first time you've talked about Hillary Clinton in these sort of terms, but you're talking specifically about what she did when it comes to her emails and when it comes to James Comey, when it comes to Loretta Lynch. You get into the weeds here and give us information we didn't have before. Fill me in.
Well, I've been at this now, Joe, for literally nearly 15 years,
right,
writing books about the Clintons. And I have sources that I've developed over all this time. And in this book, I document many things that nobody has ever heard of before. For instance, I'll go through them very quickly. One is the frailty of her health. That's number one. Number two is the relationship between President Obama and FBI Director James Comey. Number three, the relationship between the Obamas and the Clintons. Number four, Bill Clinton's private life. And I can go on and on. So we could talk about all those things.
And we're going to. It's Ed Klein. The name of the book is Guilty as Sin. It's available today. So make sure you go and grab it. It's on the usual places. We'll also put some links up on my website. At last we spoke, and it might have been 2 times before, but I remember you telling me a story about the Obamas and the Clintons having dinner at the White House, and President Obama completely so put off by the conversation, he was on his BlackBerry under the table, and emailing or texting or tweeting or something. Ed, there's no doubt in my mind, and in the minds of many watching and listening, that there is no love lost between these two families. Why exactly are Michelle and Barack Obama working so hard to get Hillary Clinton elected? Well,
that's a very good and important question. Originally, Barack Obama and Valerie Jarrett and Michelle Obama, that trio in the White House, did not want, of course, Hillary Clinton to be in the White House because they figured that if the Clintons were back in the White House, the Obamas would be marginalized. They would not have any access. They wouldn't have any influence in the Democratic Party. They wouldn't have any say over who gets what jobs and the ideological direction of the party. So Obama tried to talk Joe Biden, his vice president, into running for president. And Joe wanted desperately to do it, and this is based not on my opinions but on my reporting, but felt he just simply did not have it in his heart after the death of his son to put everything he had into running. So he took himself out of the running. Then Obama turned to Elizabeth Warren, whom I refer to as the Looney Tunes senator from Massachusetts.
Rightfully so, I would say, yeah.
And she figured that she would be much better off in the Senate, where she is now, occupying Ted Kennedy's old seat, and being a kingmaker there, which she is. So she said no, leaving Obama with no choice. And he was told by Valerie Jarrett, his senior advisor, you've got to endorse Hillary. No, you have to do 2 things: endorse Hillary Clinton and tell Loretta Lynch, the Attorney General that you appointed, that under no circumstances is Hillary Clinton to be indicted for her email scandal.
It's Ed Klein.
Obama went ahead and did that.
It's Ed Klein, author of Guilty as Sin. The book is out today. He's a best-selling author. We love having you on every time. Let's talk about the relationship between Obama and James Comey. Because Comey comes out. The FBI director came out. You saw it. I saw it. I was a journalist for 14 years. You know, many times over, I was awarded for understanding how to be even-handed and unbiased. As I'm watching James Comey, I believe it was for 14 minutes or something, lay out the case against Hillary Clinton, and in the last minute say, but we're not going to recommend charges. What do you think he was doing there when you saw that as well as I did?
What he was doing, according to the sources that I have inside the FBI, he was saving his own reputation because he finally decided that there were so many powerful interests against indicting Hillary. The White House, the Justice Department, the prosecutors, the Democratic Party, the Clintons, that if he did, he would destroy his reputation in his view and the reputation of the FBI. And he crumbled. He folded like a cheap suit at the very end because he was out to protect his own reputation.
And I understand that, but at the same time, he also made a great case to where if anybody questioned him, he could say, listen, I laid out the case. I put it right there. It was up to the Attorney General if she wanted to run with it. I mean, my recommendation was my recommendation for my own reasons, but I laid out the entirety of the case.
He did, but he also said that he was not only the FBI investigator, but he was making the case that no prosecutor would take this case. That wasn't his job to say whether a prosecutor would or would not take the case.
Right.
That's up to the prosecutors, as you well know. But he, wanted to have it both ways. He wanted to look like he was tough on Hillary, which he was, but he didn't legally recommend a legal indictment. And she got away with murder.
Best-selling author Ed Klein. The name of the book is Guilty as Sin. It's out today. Go and grab it. When it comes to the relationship between Obama and Comey, Obama and Lynch, Bill Clinton and Loretta Lynch, I mean, that whole thing, I mean, when she said, I don't know, a week or two before, I will take the FBI's recommendation and do what they suggest.
Yeah.
Did she already know what was going to happen?
Yes. The answer is yes, because if you recall, James Comey on July 5th held that press conference.
Right.
The next day, Obama and Hillary Clinton got on Air Force One and went to North Carolina. In order for the president to have a trip anywhere, it takes days and days to prepare the trip. They have to have people go down there, bring his cars down there, make sure the security is okay. So he knew, the president knew, and Hillary knew before Comey's press conference that he was not going to recommend an indictment.
It's Ed Klein. The name of the book is Guilty as Sin. Go and get it right now. What's interesting about the Loretta Lynch and the Bill Clinton meeting on the tarmac, here's the media narrative that we're supposed to believe. They both happened to be in their own private jets at the same airport at the same time on the same tarmac, and he happened to stroll up to say, hey, let's talk about our grandkids, although she doesn't have any grandkids. Let's talk about our grandkids in my golf game. They do so for 37 minutes or something, and there's nothing to see here. Ed, what do you say really happened?
Well, I actually write about this in Guilty as Sin. In fact, it's the very first paragraph in the book. Bill Clinton was in Phoenix for a fundraiser.
Yeah.
His plane was about to take off. The Secret Service guy said, hey, by the way, Mr. President, the Attorney General's plane is about to land here. And Bill Clinton said, stop the plane, don't take off, turn back. And the plane turned back. He then called one of his top legal advisors, and I spoke to this guy, the legal advisor, and said, I want to go on that plane, and I want to make it plain to the whole world that this investigation is tainted. And his legal advisor said, well, you have nothing to lose by doing that, of course, but I can't imagine that Loretta Lynch is going to agree to it. But Bill Clinton had his Secret Service guy call her FBI guards in her plane and say, the president would like to see the Attorney General. Remember, Bill Clinton appointed Loretta Lynch to her first government job as a U.S. attorney. She said yes. He then strolled 75 yards from his plane across the tarmac. It was 108 degrees that day. He could feel he said later, the heat through his loafers.
Right.
He climbed into that plane, and he spent as you just said, about 35 minutes talking about nothing with her. But she realized that she had been snookered by him. And she started shaking, he said later. He reported that she was actually trembling.
Wow.
Her husband was on the plane with her. He was rubbing her back to try to calm her down. Clinton later said that Loretta Lynch had perspiration on her upper lip because she knew she had made this huge mistake. And they didn't talk about anything of any serious nature. But what Clinton succeeded in doing was giving a signal to the entire criminal justice system that Loretta Lynch was compromised, and she was compromised.
It's a matter that he compromised her and at the same time intimidated her. So, in fact, in not talking about anything, he said everything he had to say.
Exactly.
It's Ed Klein. The name of the book is Guilty as Sin. When it comes to Hillary Clinton, you've been on this case for a long time. And the left media has tried to attack you unsuccessfully. They don't do a very good job of it. Ed, what was it about this woman, about this family, about this couple that grabbed your attention and you said, I must expose them for who they really are?
Well, because of what you said just before, which is that have we ever seen a couple as corrupt as the Clintons
Never.
in our lifetime? I don't think so. And they've been this way for ever and ever. And I realized back in, 2003, I guess it was, when she was a senator, that she intended to run for president. And I said, I've got to do a book about her. And the first book was called The Truth About Hillary.
Yeah.
That was one of the 5 books that I've written about the Clintons, the latest one being, of course, Guilty as Sin, the one that just came out today. And I think the public needs to know what they're dealing with here and what kind of president they would get if they voted for Hillary Clinton.
Well, she clearly is unlikable. She clearly doesn't have his charisma. She clearly doesn't have a track record, not a successful one. She's got a failed one. How is it that she's got a good chance of winning the presidency? I guess a better question, and this is my last question, and you've got great insight on this. Why is it that the media that otherwise tries to pretend it's got the big J on their chests and they're above it all and they are in fact going to keep government and society in line and informed, how is it that she owns them? I don't get it. What does she have on the media to where, you know how big a star you would be if you actually exposed Hillary Clinton as a so-called journalist? I mean, you're doing it every day. I'm doing it every day. Others are doing it every day. But somebody like a Matt Lauer or somebody like a Lester Holt or somebody like, a Diane Sawyer actually wore the J of journalism and did the right job on these people. They would be the biggest star on earth. Why do they own them?
They've owned them now for some time. And I think the reason for that is they all go to the same parties, vacation in the same places, eat lunch and dinner in the same restaurants, talk to each other on the phone all the time, feel that they're better people, that they're self-righteous because they're in favor of the put-upon people of the world, as the Democrats are, say they are.
Yeah.
And that Hillary is an example of the goodness, and that the people who are conservatives are really not part of that inner circle. And what's happened is that it has totally and completely corrupted the mainstream media.
And
it's no longer what it used to be.
It's a matter of just being part of the gang, being part of the group, really?
That's right.
That's nuts.
It is nuts, but I think it's very true because I was part of that group many years ago. And as soon as I started writing about Hillary, I was then completely shunned and thrown out of that group.
Well, we'd rather have you in this group anyway, Ed. We appreciate you. The name of the book is Guilty as Sin. His name is Ed Klein. Go and get it today. It's out today, and I wish you'd sell about 5 billion of these books, Ed. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Joe. Great to be with you.
We'll talk to you very soon. Ed Klein, there you go. Your thoughts on what you just heard, 1-800-383-9624, joepags.com. Stay right here.